Chapter 17. It was the night of the deal, and the appointed hour was growing near. A fog was creeping off the waves, searching through the buildings and along the streets of East Point, shimmering like a pale curtain in the light of the lampposts and headlights of the cars. The neon shop signs flashed through the low-lying veil filled the air with an ominous feeling. Steele had come early to the warehouse compound. That was to be the location of the deal, and from the shadow of an alleyway across the road he scanned the area. The compound of Reuben's warehouse was bright and empty, the windows of its buildings black and its car park deserted. It was no surprise that it was deserted. Reuben had assured Steele and Knox that his employees would vacate the area, and it was still some time before everyone was to arrive. Absently, Steele's eyes drifted to the underside of the overpass, northwards, its concrete belly glowing with blue in the neon lights that ran along it. In his mind, he went through the checklist for tonight, making sure he remembered everything and that he was certain he was ready. Outfit, he mumbled to himself, listing it on his hand. Gun, protection. The car is sorted, as well as the backup plan. And the exit is good. What else? As he continued to sort through his list, he caught some movement from the shadows over his shoulder. Instantly he was on edge. His hand slipped into the back of his pants where he kept a pocket knife clipped to his belt in anticipation. From the darkness, a large man walked towards him, and their eyes locked. "You Reinhardt Steele?" the man asked in a gruff tone, stopping a few paces away. "Yeah," Steele answered slowly, his alarm turning into suspicion and curiosity. "I got something for you," the man said as he moved into the light of the alley mouth and offered Steele a large padded envelope. "Thanks," Steele said, his eyes narrowed as he slowly took the package. With that done, the large man turned and started along the street. "Wait," Steele called out, stopping the man and drawing his attention again. "Who told you to give this to me, and how did you know where I was?" "Don't know who it was," the man shrugged. "They just paid me some cash to give an envelope to Reinhardt Steele at this location." "When was this?" Steele asked swiftly. "About 20 minutes ago," the man answered, and with no more questions coming from Steele, the man turned and continued along his way. Suspiciously, Steele looked at the padded envelope in his hands, before his eyes looked back to the city around him. He easily spied several surveillance cameras in the area, a few of which could easily spot him standing in the alleyway. Steele had also been standing in that particular spot for nearly 40 minutes as he surveyed the warehouse and went through his mental checklist. Clenching his jaw, Steele slowly opened the envelope, his curiosity and concerns rising with every passing second. From the padded package, he tipped the contents of the envelope onto his palm. A deep frown came to his face as he looked at the two small items. It was an audio earpiece and a small round object that looked like a button, but was made of metal and had two small lights flashing from it. He looked inside the envelope to see there was nothing more before he tossed the paper aside and slipped the audio device into his ear. "Ah, finally!" A voice suddenly spoke to him through the earpiece. "I was getting old, waiting for you to put that in your ear. Geez, no need to be so suspicious." "Who are you?" Steele asked seriously, and the light-hearted and girlish tone of the speaker's voice causing his frown to deepen. "How did you know where I was?" "Well, that's obvious," the woman exclaimed. "I'm the best hacker in the city. My name's Jessica. Nice to finally meet you, Reinhardt." "Call me Steele." "Well, in that case, you can call me Buttercup." Jessica huffed, seeming upset. "Knox told me you were suspicious and hard to talk to, but this is a bit ridiculous. I'm here to help you, you know." "Help me?" Steele wondered, his tone lightening slightly. "I'm your tech support," Jessica replied, sounding smug. "Tech support?" "That's right," she confirmed. "What? Do you think you could open the doors and whatnot with a press of a button on your phone?" "Come on, Steele, that's just ridiculous. This is how it's going to work. You tell me what you need, I do the hack, and everyone wins. Okay?" "Fine," Steele agreed. Knox said he would contact someone, so I guess I shouldn't be too surprised. But this is only going to work if you don't constantly talk in my ear, alright? Please, Jessica said. I'm a professional. The best hacker in the city, you know. Say the word and I can get you into the vaults of the most secure military facility in Eden. I can slip through codes of fighter jets and operate them remotely from my couch. Even the Eden Bank is not safe from my abilities. Right, I get it, Steele cut in, rubbing his brow irritably. So, how does it look inside the compound? Not sure. Jessica replied, a shrug in her voice. You just said you were the best hacker on the island, Steele frowned. I am, Jessica stated firmly. But the best hacks are not just lines of code, trojans, attack barriers, and deep worms. The best hacks are the ones that leave no trace, which is where that little button-looking thing in your hand comes into the picture. Button-looking thing? Steele echoed, looking to the small device in his palm. Sounds very technical. I dumbed down the name so you'd understand, Jessica said flatly, causing Steele to sigh irritably. I need you to put it in one of the servers of the security mainframe inside the compound. It'll be super easy, don't worry. Fine, Steele sighed again, and clenching his jaw, he started upon the concealment of the shadows of the alleyway. It was about time he made a move anyway, and he wanted to make one last canvass of the compound before the deal begun. The roads and footpaths were fairly empty as he walked towards the front gates, crossing the road and peering through the mist that was getting thicker. Surprisingly, Jessica had seemed to heed his request and had fallen silent as he approached the main gates. Unexpectedly, he spied a security guard standing idly at the checkpoint. In fact, it was the same security guard he had met the night he had made his first reconnaissance of the warehouse. Well, if it isn't Mr. Inspector, the guard greeted politely as their eyes met. Good evening, sir. Good evening, Steele replied as he approached the gates. No need to be suspicious, sir, the guard said, seeming to read Steele's thoughts. The boss has left a few of us security guards here tonight, but the rest of the employees are gone. Might look a bit odd, you see, there being no one watching the gates. I suppose that's true, Steele nodded, and he showed the man the security identification Reuben had given him. No need for that, the guard laughed slightly and waving away the card as he opened the pedestrian gate beside the main entrance. You're here early, though? I like to make sure everything was ready, Steele replied as he passed through the entrance and started down the drive. Take care tonight, the guard said. Be warned, though, if the cops show up, don't rely on us guards or anything. Of course not. Steele waved over his shoulder, a slight smirk on his face. It made sense, of course. Deke Reuben wanted to make sure his own interests were seen to. Having a few select security guards at the gates gave the impression to unsuspecting individuals that it was just a normal night. Although, as the guard had stated, if the police arrived, security would quickly side with the cops. It mattered little, though. Even less if Jessica could actually hack the servers of Reuben's compound. Yeah, take that, you son of a bitch! Jessica suddenly yelled in his ear, making Steele flinch. Die, you pathetic noob! What the hell? Steele hissed angrily, glancing over his shoulder and hoped the guard did not notice. What? Jessica exclaimed in surprise. Oh, my bad, I forgot my mic still on. I was just slaying some losers in the latest FPS game. Do you play? No, Steele replied irritably. I thought you were supposed to be my tech support. I can play video games and help at the same time, the hacker said casually. I can multitask, you know. Steele said no more, sighing as he shook his head and made his way along the drive, around the turner towards the security building. The appearance of the guards at the entrance made him suspicious that this building would not be empty either, but there was little chance that Reuben would have too many working tonight, knowing the real motives. The more people you paid off to keep quiet, the more chance there was someone betraying you. The more people you paid off to be quiet, the more chance there was someone betraying you. So, how do you know Knox? Jessica asked curiously as Steele approached the main entrance of the security building. We went to school and lived pretty much next door to each other, he replied simply, his eyes looking about the area as he took out his security identification card, ready to use at the door. How did you meet him? Well, I actually never met him face to face, Jessica replied slowly. I don't leave my house, and people coming here is not an option. But we first talked when he was looking for a hacker for some job about 5 years ago. Stayed in contact since then. He's such a great guy. I've even considered inviting him over once or twice, but then I think about someone actually being in my apartment, and yeah, that's definitely not going to happen. I take it you're a very private person, Steele remarked, opening the doors by scanning his security card. Not that, Jessica corrected. It's just people and the outside, and let's stop talking about it. Steele frowned as he heard the young woman sounding like she was hyperventilating. Deep breath, Jessica. Ooh. It's all right. Everything's good. Are you okay? Steele asked hesitantly. The doors of the building opened then as well, and he walked into the small entrance room where the administration clerk would work at the desk. There was no one there now, and Steele headed towards the back of the building, where he assumed the servers would be located. Fine, Jessica replied, sounding cheerful. Just fine, as long as I'm here and everything is out there, right? Right, anyway, back to business. The servers should be in the cooling room at the back, or maybe in the basement? I don't really know. But Reuben is a former military, and he built this compound from scratch, so I assume it'd be similar to a military base. You know how the military lay out their servers and compounds? Steele asked, his curiosity genuine. Yeah, I was military too. Jessica dismissed the question. Did you find it? I think so, Steele replied, coming to a large door at the back of the rooms. The door had some serious security, and Steele doubted that the clearance Reuben had given him would extend to allowing him to access the servers. All right, this might be a bit tricky, Jessica said, her tone becoming serious. Hold your ID card to the scanner and don't remove it until I say, got it? That card won't give you clearance to the server, but it will provide me with a small pathway. Alrighty, scan the card. Following the hacker's instructions, Steele placed his security card against the digital scanner, causing the indication lights to turn red and an access denied message to appear on the small screen beside the scanning pad. Come at me, you sons of bitches, Jessica said determinedly, and Steele assumed she was hacking. In truth, computers and the like were an area he knew he lacked a good deal of knowledge about, and in many ways, that was a serious disadvantage these days. Almost everything had a digital component to it, a wireless feature or a connection to the internet. All digital devices could be accessed remotely now, and Steele had virtually no idea how someone could do that. He had once looked into coding and hacking, but what he had seen seemed like a completely different language that made his mind swirl with confusion. Perhaps, if he really applied himself, he might reach some level of competency. But like most things, if someone wanted to truly be proficient at it, they needed to be talented to begin with. He knew he was not talented in the area, so he decided not to waste his time understanding it. He knew the basics, and that was enough to know that Jessica was very talented in hacking and coding. Yes, got you, you bastards! Jessica laughed aloud. What's this? You want to try again? You pathetic noob, die! The woman's words brought a frown to Steele's face, and he realized she was back playing her video game, and that the indication light of the door was still red. Can you hurry up with this door instead of playing games? Steele asked angrily. It's nearly done, Jessica replied casually. No need to be impatient. Keep holding your card there until it opens. It's not that hard. Hang on, I think that's my dinner arriving. Back in a minute. Steele clenched his teeth irritably and released a deep breath as he continued to wait for the doors to open. It was as Jessica said, and the lights soon turned green, followed by the sounds of clicking locks. The large door opened and drifted inward slightly before Steele pushed his way through and headed down the immediate stairs into a large basement filled with humming computer servers. It was cool and dark down here, and Steele looked about absently, feeling at a loss what to do next. Don't you just love delivery drones, Steele? Jessica asked suddenly, sounding as if her mouth was half full. They just drop your food off at the balcony and fly off. No need to speak to anyone, no need to leave. Pure bliss. Sure, Steele remarked, having no idea what she was talking about. I'm in the server room now. What do I do with this button thing? You're in? Jessica exclaimed with delight. Nice. All right. You need to hide it in one of the servers. That's the tower-looking things with all the lights flashing on them. I know what a server looks like, Steele replied flatly, and he moved over to the nearest tower and slipped the button between two levels. How's that? Nice, we're online. Jessica cheered. Give me a few minutes and I'll have full control. Good, Steele nodded to himself and released a deep breath. Glad to have that ordeal ended. All right, stay on this line. I'll call you when I need you. I'll be watching, Jessica replied. Her tone made Steele pause and frown slightly before he skipped back up the stairs and walked back through the building and into the car park. With a quick look at his watch, he was relieved to see he still had some time before the deal was to begin. Steele wanted to make one final sweep of the entire compound before things got underway, so he walked briskly off into the gathering fog. Dealing with security had taken longer than he expected, but at least now he was confident that that part of the plan was covered. Jessica seemed trustworthy to him, and although he had never met the young woman, the fact that Knox knew her well and trusted her was enough for him. The thought of Knox caused Steele to take out his phone, send a message to his friend. Jessica is an odd one. Likely Knox was sitting in his hospital bed, wondering how things were going, so Steele felt compelled to involve his friend in the event somewhat. After all, Knox had been the instigator of this deal, and he also asked to be kept informed. The reply from Knox came back swiftly. You spoke to her? That's good. She said she would contact you when I spoke to her, but didn't give details. You can trust her. Don't worry. She's really good with computers. A bit of an agoraphobic. Sweet girl, though. How's it looking for the deal? A slight smile came to Steele's face as he read the message. It was obvious that Knox was feeling nervous about the night's events, even from his bed. Steele replied swiftly, though he teased with the idea of making Knox wait and chew his nails in anticipation. Everything seems to be going as planned. Knox was quick in his response as well. Well, good luck. Keep me posted. Steele did not reply to that message, but he silently agreed he would keep Knox informed of the developments as best he could. But for the majority of the time, he predicted he would be too busy dealing with a situation that was certain to become tense. The fog grew thicker as he walked around the dock side of the compound, causing the loading cranes to appear all the more skeletal and imposing. The lights at their top flashing like red eyes that are heavy dark. The undercover walkway between the two large houses was lit up with golden light, and from his position in the darkness he could clearly see everything that was happening. The sight made him feel a little uncomfortable, for it made it so all their doings would be open for all to see. Fortunately, the waters of the east of the compound were reserved for large shipping only, and the Coast Guard rarely visited these areas of the water. The undercover space was also mostly shielded from view of the road at the front of the compound as well, so for the most part he felt reassured that the deal would proceed without any additional parties spying on them. The buzz of his phone drew his attention to a message from Clara, stating that she was on her way. Taking a deep breath, Steele turned from the dock and headed to the undercover area to wait her arrival, and the arrival of the rest of the parties. The game was on, and there was no chance of calling it off now. As he walked, Steele quickly went through his mental list again, searching for anything he might have missed. He was nervous. He knew he was, and he accepted it. The next few hours would change everything. He was ready.